Hi, my name is Jarleif Odne. I'm a platform manager in Equinor. I want to share with you some proactive observations. I want to look at the observations not one by one, but from a barrier perspective. These observations are taken on the same installation within a short time span. They are what you could call everyday observations. And you could argue that some of these have low potential, and if you look at them one by one. But when looking at them from a barrier perspective, I hope these examples could help justify that proactive observations are important. So if we start off with this first picture here, this is a paint storage. The observation itself is that the door has been left open. The red liquid in the cans there is methylated spirit, which is, as you probably know, highly flammable. Studying the area around, you'll find this. This is the fire and gas. This shows that the fire and gas detection for this container has been disconnected, making the observation of an open door just a bit more serious. We have highly flammable liquids stored with door open, no fire and gas detection. So this represents a small weakness in our barrier. If we imagine that we did get a fire in the container or in the area, we would then be dependent on someone observing it and alerting the control room. This is a picture of the nearest phone, out of order, as you see from the note there. And as we all know, the telephone system on an installation is part of our emergency equipment. So this also represents a small weakness in our barrier. Most likely you'd have to then move to the next phone, also out of order, and also representing a small weakness in our barrier. Moving along to the third phone, which, by the way, works, you'll find it partially blocked. There's a hose here, there's a pallet, there's an oil drum, and blocking emergency equipment also represents a small weakness in the barrier. When reaching the phone, here you'll see that there's no sign telling you where the phone is located. That was the case with the two other phones that didn't work. They had a sign saying where they were. If we imagine then that the person trying to call the control room was new on the installation, it could be difficult to explain where this person is calling from, giving the fire time to escalate, and then again representing a small weakness in our barrier. These stretchers stored in the gangway, this is not an optimum situation. This is the way where the emergency personnel would have to pass. The stretchers then giving a small hindrance in the way, representing a small weakness in our barrier. When the emergency personnel could have chosen different routes to reach the container. This is one of them. The observation here is that there's no sign on the barriers explaining why this staircase is barriered off. If the emergency personnel chose to use these steps, they would be able to walk up a couple of levels before the remaining staircase was removed completely. No risk in itself, as it was probably barriered off at that level, but the emergency team would lose time as they had to return back down. So missing sign on a barrier here represents a small weakness in our barriers. This is one of the fire extinguisher close to the container we started out with. The observation here is that there's no sign. The sign is located around the corner and to the right. If we imagine someone approaching the sign from the opposite direction, it's not a given that they would know that the extinguisher had been moved or that they would look around the corner to find it. So this also represents a small weakness in our barriers system. Again, partially blocking emergency equipment represents a small weakness in our barriers. On this installation, it was also observed gas cylinders standing upright, secured with fiber straps. If we imagine the fire escalating, this is a situation which could make it even worse. So not securing gas cylinders properly is also a small weakness in our barriers. This valve is a valve on the main fire water line. The purpose of this valve is to be able to shut off parts of the system, the fire water systems, if you, for some reason, should have a pressure drop, a leak. In other words, it's a quite important valve. Here we have hung off tubing lines on the valve, making it a bit more difficult to access the valve if you need it, and then representing a small weakness in our barriers. This picture, we have another valve on the fire water lines. It's a bit difficult to see, but it's back on the wall here. The observation is it's partially blocked by equipment and represents a small weakness in our barrier. This is in an office. It's plastic stuffed in the PA system. Could make it a bit more difficult to hear an important message. And then, of course, also represents a small weakness in our barriers. This picture is taken from the lifeboat station on this installation. There's two sets of emergency buttons. The observation is that there is no sign. This could create uncertainty with regards to which buttons to press in a situation. Again, representing a small weakness in our barrier. The point here is when looking at these observations one by one, you could easily argue that this is just lack of tidiness. There's no big risk here. This is no problem. You could say if you want, you could say a lot has to go wrong before this becomes an issue, and so on and so on. But when looking at this from a barrier perspective, knowing that they're taking on the same installation within a short time span, this is a good example showing how important it is that everyone participates in proactive observations. One by one, observations will strengthen or maintain our main barriers. So we need everyone to participate. Thank you.